With its esteemed shooting, intense precision, tight controls, and fanciful genre-pushing creativity, Treasure's Radiant Silvergun is a game with an illustrious reputation that precedes it. And for all of the right reasons, as this game's unique sensibility has earned it a legacy as one of the best shoot-'em-ups of all time. And with such prestige, it's easy to come into a game like this with a certain amount of skepticism. However, from the moment I took control of my ship, Radiant Silvergun presented me with some of the finest shooting I've ever experienced and kept a vice grip on me until the very end. Right off the bat, Radiant Silvergun puts its treasure hallmarks on display with a plethora of gimmicks. First and foremost, each of the Saturn 6 face buttons provides a different shot type. One is a spread shot, another one homes, one will fire behind you, and so on. As you'd imagine, throughout the game's 5 stages, you'll find a variety of situations where each shot's capabilities prove most useful. For example, in level 1, you'll find that the blue bombs with their short range but powerful spread can easily clear these tight corridors. Or that in this boss fight, your backward shot can take care of the menace tailing your spaceship. And it's that quasi-Mega Man style trial and error of finding what weapon to use in every fight that heightens the incredible shooting. Adding to it is a leveling system. The more you use a certain shot type, the more it'll level up and increase in power. So it does pay to think creatively and whip out your more obtuse firepower, because they might just save your skin when that particular section where you need them becomes trivial thanks to a level up. Besides your 6 attack types, you'll also wield your beam sword that'll swallow certain bullet types, resulting in a powerful screen clearing charge attack. And when I say this thing is crucial to your playstyle, I mean it. On my first playthrough, I struggled to clear the first few levels because I hardly used the sword. But once I incorporated it into my play, I was making quick work of mini-bosses and taking down larger foes in half the time. And while not every boss presents you with the opportunity to use it, most will, and you'll want to risk it all to grab those bullets and unleash on them. While you're flying from level to level, scrapping giant hunks of metal, you may notice a color scheme of red, yellow, and blue. If you can believe it, this also comes into play with the addition of the color-based combo system that rewards destroying certain colored ships to keep chains going for maximum payout. So if you can go a whole level with only destroying blue ships, then you'll get more points than if you were trying to destroy everything. And while this stratagem might not be as crucial as the ones previously mentioned, it does add yet another layer to the shooting. Levels in Radiant Silvergun are about what you'd expect of a treasure game, packed to the brim with boss fight after boss fight, only broken up by a quick breather of cannon fodder before you're on to your next clash. Now you'd think this would get tiresome, but every new enemy is a feast for the eyes as these giant, puzzle-like mechanical structures truly dazzle and show off that the Saturn could indeed hold its own against the PlayStation at times. And of course, their gnarly waves of bullets and shrapnel make them a real treat to take down. One of my personal favorites being this boss in level 1, where the columns around the playfield actually provide cover from its attacks. Or the giant Evangelion-like final boss that once again showcases the Saturn's true power. Backing the amazing shooting are some airtight controls. Squeezing between bullets or barriers will pose a challenge, but never at the expense of your movement, as your ship easily glides across the screen at the press of a button. The only time the controls will turn on you is if the game wants them to, like in this boss fight in level 4, where you're racing through oncoming corridors. And what's a good shoot 'em up without a good soundtrack? And boy does this game deliver. The tunes that score the endless shooting drum up an excellent mix of orchestral-like action beats with a good dose of triumphant heroism. So, polishing off each stage feels incredibly rewarding thanks to the bombastic soundtrack. And while I'm at it, I can't go without mentioning the surprisingly well thought out story that, for once, I don't want to spoil, but I will point you towards the beautiful 5-minute, fully animated intro that sets up the cataclysmic adventure and highlights that typical TLC found in every treasure title. With this game having a rather staggered release history, I do want to make quick mention of the different versions. Radiant Silvergun originally saw release in the arcades in 1998. A scant 2 months later, the Saturn version briskly followed, and for a long time was the only system to see this amazing shoot-'em-up in its library. Thankfully, after many years and fan outcry, this game was eventually ported to the 360 and most recently the Switch and Steam in 2022 and 23 respectively. However, the Saturn version is arguably still the best one to play, as it includes the original arcade release, as well as a Saturn mode complete with extra cutscenes and some new bosses tacked on to level 5. That being said, you don't miss much if you only play the arcade version found in the re-releases. And if I'm being honest, while I appreciate the added bosses, I do feel they bloat an already insane final stage full of some of the most intense bullet dodging I've ever experienced. So if you don't want to go the Saturn route, which is unsurprisingly very expensive, you have plenty of affordable options to play this one. Radiant Silvergun is a fantastic game, but also a fickle one. It's a game that expects you to play by its rules. You need to play it the way it wants you to, or you're not going to get far. So sit down, learn its systems, and you'll quickly understand why it's so revered, because once it's firing on all cylinders, the gameplay is unmatched by its contemporaries. And this game truly deserves to be experienced, as not only is the shooting great, but the story and music back up an otherwise incredible game. So if you're in need of a well-balanced but challenging shoot-'em-up, look no further than Radiant Silvergun. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this episode, consider checking out these other videos right here, or even subscribing. Also, if you'd like to throw me a couple of bucks, you can support the show on Patreon.